Good evening, my local drones. It is I, BioGunham. I'm back again for another video. So today, we're going to be covering Seasons 2 and 3 of the Yahari anime. Joining us, we have Fvlminatvs, Fvlminatvs' younger brother, potentially my hated rival, Plot Progressor B, and Lonecrit might be popping in for a few minutes just to give us his basic thoughts before he has to dip and go to bed. So introduce yourselves.
Hey,
sorry.
Go ahead,
you
Ramblepak.
go first.
Shoot.
I was going to say, hey, I'm Ramblepak, Fool's younger brother. You can check out my stuff at Ramblepak64.com. I do lots of blogs and streaming and other stuff about video games.
And I'm Fvlminatvs, not much more, you know.
Yeah, you're kind of like a fan favorite here. Like, people's like, oh, where's Fool? Where's his YouTube channel? You're kind of
the old guy. Yeah.
It's like, talk more about boomer things, please.
Lonecrit's going to be popping in for a couple minutes before he goes to sleep, because it turns out he's in a widely different time zone than I originally thought.
Yeah, it feels. Yeah.
Time zones, they're a great thing. They're a great idea, aren't they?
Yeah, well, the problem is we can't always run on American time, sadly.
Anyway, so we
ahead.
were watching what the topic, I guess, is today is we were watching Yahari seasons 2 and 3. We already covered season 1 in an earlier episode.
And we also we also hinted about some of the other things that's kind of going on in future. And I'm just going to mention that if you don't want any spoilers for like what's going to be going on in Yahari, stop right now. All right?
Yeah, we're pretty much going to be spoiler.
We are going balls deep here.
Yeah, pretty much. So where we left off in the first season, pretty much leaves off where they had the cultural festival, and
Hatchman kind of throws himself under the bus.
He makes himself look like a real jerk to kind of get everybody to get the one girl. What was her name? Sagami.
Yes, Sagami.
To go read the results of the contest and to give the closing speech and everything like that. And like he just drills her. I mean, it's hardcore, and he tells her not what she wants to hear, but what she needs to hear. And the funny thing is, this actually, if you're paying attention for the rest of the series, you get little shots of Sagami for the rest of the series if you're paying close attention. And you can always see the knowledge of basically that she just goofed around and didn't actually accomplish anything. That specter of that hovers over her for the next 2 seasons, whenever she...
And here's the other thing, is that she's always in the background. Like, she's never at the forefront anymore. Like, she's always kind of in the background now.
Well, it's not even just that. It's you see what happens with him. You see what happens with the rest. Because what did she want to be? She wanted to be popular. She wanted to be liked by everyone. And then what happens is the guy that chews her out and tells her who she is, tells her about herself, he ends up having that. Like, her last glance towards the end of the show is towards him, and it's a moment where he's liked. He has friends at that point. He's liked. Yeah. He's changed. And
it's at the graduation ceremony, right?
Yeah, she just wanted to take, but she didn't do anything to earn it. And that's the funny thing, where he actually does earn it. And that's the course of seasons 2 and 3. Like, by the end of season 1, we see that he...
Hey, Lonecrit.
Lonecrit, yeah.
Hello, what an instantaneous and wonderful reaction.
Okay, so Lonecrit, since you're going to go to bed soon, can you just give us your thoughts on, like, just season 2 and 3 from what you remember? Because, we know you have to go to bed soon, so...
Yeah.
I mean, I think I should be able to spare 15 to 20 minutes. It should be
perfect.
Fine. But...
go ham.
That's a very, very difficult question, Bio, because it's such a biggie.
Yes.
I haven't seen season 2 in several years, but in a very synopsized fashion. What I will say about season 2 is that I think it's a wonderful continuation to Hachiman's character arc in particular, if you look at it in the grand scheme of things. Season 1 it focuses around the transition in his perspective, and him realizing that the social world is not what he thought it was. And so season 2 is that next big transition point, the next phase, where he realizes, first he's confronted by the idea that he cannot do things as he's done up until that point in time, because his change in perspective has gone hand in hand with a shift in the way he socially relates to people, and specifically the fact that the types of relationships he has with others, in that he has relationships, and therefore the way he has done things up until that point in time simply won't fly, both because it harms him, even though he doesn't realize it, but also because it harms others, because of this magical thing called human beings giving a shit about each other. Alien concept, I know. Season 3, to me, on the other hand, it just feels, in many ways, like the victory lap. The pieces are all in place, we just need that final little push.
I would actually disagree. Well, I agree with you in general, but I would disagree with you in that, one, he's wrong about everybody's relationships, and two, I don't think season 3 is a victory lap. I think season 3 is where they get super close to everything falling apart.
Well,
and
yeah,
with a victory lap, yeah, but I would most of it where I disagree with you is mostly in like the details, not in the overall picture.
Yeah, that's what I mean as well. In the overall picture, what I mean to say is that the pieces are already roughly in place. It's just a matter of time for them to slip into the right positions, if that happens. You're just waiting, hopefully, for everything to land, like all the pieces to land correctly, like dominoes falling. Because you already know that Hachiman is into Yukinosha, you already know she's into him, Igahama into him, blah 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 blah. Things just need to click. And Season 3 establishes this precedent up front with Komachi graduating junior high school and then her doing her big thing. That's actually one of my favorite moments in the entire series, sudden as it is. The bit where Komachi and Hachiman just have a regular day, but it's not a regular day, in the fact that the context in their lives is different. It's the same thing, but the placement is what makes it different. It gives it this slightly different undercurrent. And so it seems like a normal day, you know, but then you realize different things are going on in the background, like where you get Kawasaki Saki and her sister, I think it's Reika. And so that that feeds into different thoughts going on in Hachiman's mind, in Komachi's mind. They have some nice banter and interplay there on the subject of sibling relationships. Nice stuff between Saki, and they just do some nice mixing and matching. So that at the end of the episode, when you get one of my favorite moments in the entire series, ham-fisted as it is, where Komachi just is like, hey, thanks for everything you've done for me, that's like, that's one of the most peak moments in the entire series.
It's a great moment because it's one of those, it's probably his most stable and healthy relationship, but it's also addressing the fact that even this relationship has a finite end, at least in this state.
Yeah.
That they are addressing, she's reaching an age where she can no longer be the same little sister.
She's got to grow up and become more independent. And
they can't just always be playing the same word games. They can't always have the same cutesy little way. He can't always be protective of her. Just simple things like that. Like, they're still able to mess around. You can see in episodes after that, they still have a good sort of relationship and rapport still, but it is now changed. She has grown up. And that's definitely part of what's going on with like the rest of that season in general, because then he has to see, what's her name, Megumi, the student council president of the time. She's graduating. And
I think her name's Shirameguri. Oh, sorry, no. Megumi Shirameguri?
Yeah, it's one of those.
It's one of those weird names.
Yeah,
it's the last.
Like, wow. It's the wordplay.
I love Watari and his Stanley-esque naming convention.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great. Watari, Hikigai Hatchman, Yui Yukino. It's great. Hayama Hayato's like my favorite.
Kawasaki Saki, like...
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Yeah, he likes his word puns and rhyming.
His characters' names are just... I think there's a name for that convention. I just don't remember what it is off the top of my head. But yeah, it's just... it just makes his character's name so fun to say.
It is.
But no, that's what I mean, though, because then she graduates. And a lot of it is addressing that they're going to be graduating the next year. So there is a sense of finality to things and a time limit.
That feeds into my overall point, though.
Okay.
Sorry, but I was gonna say, this is kind of relating to what I said earlier, where it's the preparation for the next phase. They are at the precipice of the next moment. It's the beginning of one thing and the ending of another, and that's why it's so good that they place that in the beginning of the series, because on one hand it's very conclusive, in a sense it feels very conclusive, but then you've got more, but then when you recognize it of it setting the precedent of one thing ending and another thing beginning, certain bridges having to be crossed, certain doors closed, others opened, etc. It sets the tone, the mood for season 3 perfectly. It's the season of everything working out after it's been set up to do so.
By the end, because what it really ends up being is after he's learned how to solve problems, without being fake, without being artificial. Because Hayato Hayama only knows how to solve problems through the fake way, and therefore the problem's never actually solved. Nothing is there is no real resolution the way Hayama does it. Hatchman has finally learned how to solve that in the second season, by addressing everyone's feelings, addressing the actual situation, and helping everyone grow and move forward. But where the problem presents itself in season 3 is his own group is now in a situation where they are at a potential breaking point, and they're faking it, just like all the other friendships. And so he's now got to figure out, how do I fix this without destroying what we have? And especially where Yukino herself is at the point where she's actually in some ways throwing herself under the bus to try and find a resolution because she's afraid.
Yeah, What's interesting is that they all have conflicting desires at this point, right?
Yeah.
Yui wants to stay best friends with Yukino and have the club, and as she says in the show, the ability to kind of spend their evenings together.
Or nothing.
Whiling away, doing nothing or whatever, just being with each other. And then at the same time, she romantically desires Hachiman. She knows Hachiman, even if Hachiman hasn't really truly realized it yet, and it takes some prodding for him to realize it, how much he cares about Yukino. And, Yui's the only one who obviously really is aware of her feelings romantically. And it seems to me that did I say Yukino? I mean Yui. Yui is the one who...
You said, Yui's the one that
knows her feelings. Yukino and Hachiman seem to kind of be in denial of how they actually feel for each other.
They're very afraid. They're both vulnerable. They're afraid of vulnerability. They are the perfect example of putting on a strong front when deep down inside you're actually scared. And there's a lot of things, and that's the thing. One of the things Yukino is scared of is worthiness, or rather unworthiness. She is afraid that she's not good enough for her ambitions and that she's over-reliant. And that's part of where... And season 3 is actually very interesting because everyone's speaking around the issue all the time.
Wait a sec.
Very Japanese.
So you're saying that this is in fact a teen romantic comedy snafu?
After all.
After all, yes.
Yes.
And it is not in fact as expected. I'll see myself at.
The author is pretty genius in how he structured it, because it is a teen romantic comedy, but it's just
first.
And it gets very psychological, and it gets very
to me, in many cases, the best romances are just the ones that get there, rather than the ones that assume they're going to be there. My favorite romance, aside from Oregairu, is Maison Ikoku, and that takes 96 episodes to do its romance.
I gotta watch that.
Yeah, you should. It's literally one of the greatest anime ever made.
Yeah, I read the manga. It's pretty fucking good.
Considering I like Rumiko Takahashi, and that is actually one of the things that frustrates me about Rumiko Takahashi is this is the only one that I know of that she wrote where at the end they at least get together that I've heard about.
They do a little more than get together, but yes.
Wow. Okay.
Well, if you really want me to tell you, I can tell you. But
no, it's quite all right. I intend to see it. So.
Okay.
I understand.
She actually plays. Sorry, but before you continue, I will say she does play with your expectations. You expect what you have in your head what Takahashi does, and then it looks like she's going to do that on a regular basis, and then she goes for something entirely more pragmatic, and it's great. But with Oregairu, complete and total segue, the rap scene is literally one of the funniest things I've ever seen in an anime.
Yeah, boy.
Because the first time you watch, you're not expecting it. It just breaks in.
Oh, yeah.
And it's great, too, because it shows how he's impacted these characters to an extent that even the side characters are changing. because the whole problem with that is he's going in with a nonsense presentation expecting nonsense business talk. And the guy's just like, straight up, this is nonsense. You don't have a plan here. No, it's no good. And so the entire rap is him trying to double down on it.
Yes.
Great.
It's like the first time I was in absolute disbelief.
Listen.
The second time, I nearly split my gut open.
Yeah. Listen, MC fucking Hatchman from the West Side has some sick beats to lay down. He's going to lay down the smackdown.
Iba Prefecture represent. That's what it is.
Well, the best thing is that that's completely out of nowhere. Hachiman has never shown an interest in rap at any point in time, and the thing that really makes it perfect is the look on Yui's face. She has this look like, what the fuck is going on right now? And pulls
she
out
immediately
her phone
pulls out her phone to record it. Yeah.
Yeah. You can only imagine, like, there being, like, a 4-coma behind-the-scenes kind of comedy gag manga.
Oh, fuck yes.
And it's just, like, one thing where she's like, Yukino, look at this. So good. Like,
it's
Machi,
funny
can you believe your brother did this? You know, something
like
like that.
Seriously, you can just imagine her texting Yukino on, like, Lime or Messenger or something, and being like, Yukino, you will not believe what I fucking saw today.
Hachiman's rapping. He's representing Chiba Province.
It's funny because though when Plot was here last time, he has read all the light novels, and one of the things he pointed out.
Yeah, I've read most of them as well.
The show, unfortunately, there's a lot of this stuff that he knows about when it comes to business and all those business words and stuff, that business vocab that he's got.
Probably comes from.
He learned it all from his dad. Yeah.
Nailed it.
And his dad always is complaining about how inefficient the business world is and how fake everybody is in it. And it's like you don't realize it in the show, but like he's like at least half of his worldview he gets from hearing his dad complain about the corporate world and the salaryman life. And it's like, wow, that is so interesting.
I've read a little bit of the light novel. I think, first of all, one thing that they cut for understandable reasons, a little bit more hanging out. I remember just this one bit is like Mokuza, Hachiman, and Totsuka go and hang out, and it has nothing to do with anything. It's just neat, because, I mean, Oregairu is clearly partially a slice of life.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting to kind of see that, to like flesh out the social world a little more by seeing people like kind of do things that are even less plot related than the normal things we see. That's one thing, and I only noticed in season 3, but Hachiman not only has a cat, but that cat has a name, and that's Kamakura, and that's adorable. And they only mentioned the cat, I think, by name in season 3. Or
so the Kamakura Shogunate got it.
There are some really interesting historical tidbits and Easter eggs.
Like the Kamakura period.
His buddy, and a lot of it comes from that time period, the Kamakura Shogunate era, because it's like his name Hachiman is a reference to. I mean, I know it's a god of war, but there's also like more to it. His buddy Zaimokuza is a reference to like his whole like persona is built on not Yoshine, but another like legendary samurai from that era. And Kamakura was the capital of the shogunate, the Bakufu at that time. So it's like, there's little weird historical Easter eggs peppered throughout.
Oh yeah, Hatchman and Zaimokuza will not shut up about that stuff in the light novel.
Oh yeah.
Did you know how many anime references they cut for the anime?
A lot.
Really?
A lot. Dude, oh my god. Like, between Hachiman and Hiratsuka, his teacher, they make so many fucking references. Oh my god, especially Hiratsuka, like this woman. Oh my god, and then, like, for example, once Hatchman is thinking to himself, and he's like, or he's talking to Hiratsuka, and he's like, do not confuse me with a certain long-nosed sniper. I'm like, oh my god. They only keep one or two of them for the anime, and one that really stands out to me is something like she punches Hachiman, or almost punches him, and she's like, that was my tempestuous first bullet. Don't make me bring out my annihilating second bullet.
Scryad, boys.
Because, yes, Scryad. Exactly.
Evidently she makes references to older... Because they do keep that one in the last episode, where she has a line or something that's like, normies should go and die, or something like that. And he's just like, that's like 10 years old. Like, that's and
yeah.
reference.
Oh yeah, that's
I don't remember what it's from.
Well, that's a more recurring thing in the light novel because
Yeah.
all her references are to anime and manga from say
The 80s and
one
or
and a
like
half-
the 90s
yeah,
and
yeah,
and aughts.
1.5 to 2 decades ago. But Hachiman's references, generally speaking, are much more recent. But he has knowledge of the older stuff too, so that's just one more reason for him to call her old. Like she'll make some references, like to Hokuto no Ken or something, and he'll be like, "Wow, really showing your age here, aren't you?"
They do have.
Oh, by the way,
That's a damn
But-
tragedy. There's
by
so
the
many.
way-
There's so many hot
Hold on.
teachers, man. In
by the way,
anime.
I am very happy. By the way, I prefer the anime to the light novel for many reasons, but one of them being, holy crap, Hachiman sexualizes the women in his life in his head a lot. It's quite off-putting to
Wait.
read
in the light novel.
in the light novel. Yeah, like for example, once Hiratsuka is dragging him off to the Helpers Club in like an arm lock or like holding his elbow behind his back or something, and in that moment the main thought going through his head is that he occasionally gets just a little bit happy when he nudges against her boob for a fraction of a second.
One hand, he is
He's
a teenage
17.
boy.
Well,
He's 17.
yeah, I'm not saying it doesn't make sense, I'm just saying it's off-putting, both because he does it a lot, like a lot. It's one thing to see a facial expression and be able to just understand roughly what he's thinking, and it's a completely different thing to hear it in detail. Not fun.
I'd have to read it myself.
And you're assuming that she don't know what she's doing.
She doesn't seem like she does.
Oh.
The teacher, I don't know, because even at the very end, again, when she steps on his foot and falls over, basically tells him how lucky he is. Because they fall over and she's over top of him, and it's a typical anime like scenario.
Oh, yeah.
And he just stands up and is like, "Oh, you're lucky," you know. That doesn't happen to that many. So she's probably especially because of how old she is. There's like I would guess to there being an awareness to her, especially.
Well,
What
if
she's
I remember
doing.
correctly, she's like about 30. But, no, wait, sorry, 35, maybe. Either way, or maybe 40, but anyway, I was gonna say, so that entire resolution, I like all of that, except the bit where she falls on him. I like all of the rest of it, but not that. I don't like that.
It's in some ways it feels out of place, but on the other hand, it feels in place because it's like the timing is weird considering he's confirmed his relationship with Yukino at that point. But the thing is, I think part of it is the show, again, it's my youth romantic comedy is wrong as expected. And they hit a lot of the notes that you're supposed to hit, right? Like,
Well,
again,
that's the thing.
they go to the maid cafe in the first season. It turns out that's not where the character worked. But that's where you expect. That's what you expect based on how anime operates.
And then it kind of
we
just
have the
doesn't
summer
happen.
camp setting. We have the summer camp setting, only it's not how it's supposed to go according to normal anime. So they hit that moment, but they play it off differently than you'd expect in an anime.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
So and I think for them to, because that's the thing, in the end, it's kind of giving him an ending with every one of the girls, or like even Iroha, just about.
Yeah, I
throws
was gonna
herself
say,
at him.
I very
But-
much don't like the insistence in the end of just like throwing women at Hachiman and doing this whole wink wink nudge nudge thing. I find it kind of disgusting.
I
I
mean,
find it disgusting. I just find it kind of boring.
Mm.
I mean,
to
you
me,
know.
it all depends on whether whether it actually makes sense or not. Because I've watched plenty of anime where it's like, why do these girls all like this guy? But here, it feels like you understand why each of these girls is drawn to him. But Iroha is also, because again, it's like a part of it's the psychology, and part of it is the kind of girl that they are. Iroha is literally throwing himself at him because of a couple of reasons, and one of them is
she
sorry,
plays.
Yeah, I noticed
she
I wasn't
plays
gonna
with
say
guys.
anything.
She plays with guys. Yeah, she plays with guys all the time, or at least she says she does.
well, she
And
mind
you can
games.
kind
I
of
would say.
you can kind of see her play these games with the two dudes in the computer club or whatever.
Oh yeah, I
in
was gonna
Simo
say
Club.
when they did the triple eyeglass raise, that had me split my sides.
Yeah, but like that's the thing is meanwhile like she even gets what's his name Totsuka? I gotta
Tosuka?
give me a second. Tobe. That's it. Tobe.
Yeah.
She gets Tobe to start basically be her lackey, like all this other stuff, like and all of a sudden, like he's the kind of guy who
Is an actual challenge.
is an actual challenge. Like she,
But-
I mean,
we can't deny the possibility that this is all a little bit of fan service, because he even has this nice date with Yui, right? They have their time where he goes to her place and they
but
make
dude,
desserts and stuff.
Yui has to say, didn't you say we're going to make something nice for your sister? And then he's willing to
you're right, but I'm just saying it still gives so if we're talking for like audience, like fan service and stuff, it's still giving the audience the cute little date with Yui's mom being cute in the background. But by the very end of it, when they're walking home, his inner monologue effectively, like, and that's the thing, like, it gives you all this fan service, it gives you this stuff, but then they like whip you back to reality in some way. So he gets his little date with Yui, he gets Iroha throwing herself at him pretty aggressively. You get the moment with the teacher, you get all of these things, but what really matters in the end is he goes for Yukino, and they have their little date, and the date is absolutely cute, and in the end she's the one that tells him, you know, I like you. And it's still like, but that's the thing, like, it still gives everyone a little bit of something, like whatever pairing you're rooting for, because that's part of the just fan culture now, is what ship are you rooting for, what do you fan fiction, what do you dojin. You're giving everyone a little taste of that. And then you're like, okay, now here's how the story actually goes.
Honestly, I'm personally against that. I think it does a disservice to these characters by even implying the idea of funneling them into this mold for a second. I would have been way more happy with it if it just stuck to them being platonic and didn't even flirt with that area. Because what they did in season 2 with Hatchman
Hachiman, were you ever a teenager?
No.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Were you ever a teenager? My God, man!
Yeah, I would have lapped it up when I was a teenager.
This is it's so true to life, because people flip flop. When you're a teenager, man, people flip flop left and right for who they have a crush on today and tomorrow. Like,
I know, but
I don't think this is abnormal. Like,
I know.
Hold on. I'm just going to say I see in some ways what you mean, Lonecrit, but I actually do believe the manner in which it's done with these characters, I can believe it because of the psychology of it. So I don't think it's breaking character for a bit of fan service or for the sake of it. It is delivering that, but I think it's also the way these characters have been written and the way this situation is even written is so believable that I can buy this happening. But I do understand what you mean by, I guess I understand what you mean by, it's like the idea of like, does he respect the characters or does he want to give fan service? Like, which
I'll put it to you like this, right? I'm not saying this is unrealistic. I was never saying that. But here's the thing. These characters, they're not real. They're made up. And they do what they do and are presented in a certain way and are taken in certain directions because a human being, or series of human beings, but in this case most likely a human being, chose for that to happen. A author or production studio chose, we are going to take these characters that we have made up and we are going to make them do this. And sure, you can argue that that is realistic, what happened, but you know what else would have been realistic? Not doing that.
What I think is unrealistic is that this happens to Hachiman.
The term I'll use is verisimilitude, because verisimilitude isn't about like whether it's realistic or not, it's whether it's believable or not. And as I said, the way the characters are written, their personalities, I can believe it. The everything else comes down to personal preference. Whether you don't think it goes far enough, whether you think it goes too far, whether you think it's just fine. That's all personal preference from there.
Within the context of the characters, I do think though it is somewhat counter, or has to say, not exactly counter. It's perpendicular or creates friction in my eyes with what the show's actually about and building towards in a thematic sense.
Then you could argue the rap scene completely breaks that. Because this is a show, especially in season 3, they're not afraid to have
here's the
fun
thing.
at the point. They're not afraid to break some of the boundaries of reality to have some fun.
Well,
the rap scene, you could argue, is completely breaking character in worse ways than Iroha just about jumping his bones right then and there.
Well, here's the thing. That scene made me laugh really, 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 really hard.
Well, then that's just an obvious bias.
It's hold on. What's interesting is we're actually in a argument between different forms of critical theory, and none of us realize it because Ramble,
I realize it.
You're approaching it from a mimetic point of view, and Lonecrit you're kind of coming at it from a pragmatic or audience point of view.
Well, another way to phrase it is a let's see, a Doylean, I think it is, versus a Watsonian point of view, because this is another way of expressing this thought process that has been coined by God knows who to mean basically in a textual sense versus a meta sense. Does this make sense? Versus, is this okay to position this in this way in the first place?
I wish I had a really good example of something where it has broken character for me. Oh, the fourth Evangelion movie. There you go. That's a perfect example. No.
I have not seen Evangelion.
I'm trying to think of... because I know I've seen them, but the thing is I stopped watching them. I stopped watching the kind of anime
I've got a really good example, but you probably didn't see it.
What, where they break character really bad?
Oh, yeah. The, episode 1 of Season 2 of Shield Hero. It's one of the biggest character breaks I've seen in all of anime.
Actually, you know what's a perfect example? The very first episode of Parasite, because it completely doesn't belong in the tone of the show, and that's when the alien hand makes the dude grab the girl's boob.
You're right.
To me, that's where it's a forced moment, where it doesn't feel believable for the rest
or
of the
episodes.
Show. It is forced. I mean,
or episodes 1 and 2 of Charlotte.
Never seen that one. But
Charlotte is where your main protagonist is basically Dio.
Yeah, we're getting far off.
Yeah.
The other area I would say, like, the one area I do, like I said, mostly detail oriented. Overall, I really agree with Lonecrit with your overall, I guess, thesis about his character arc and change and stuff like that, because it's very apparent, like, if you go from the very beginning of season 1, where he gives, especially first episode where he's introduced with his essay about how high school is bullshit and all that stuff. And then
I really love how it comes back around and he's like, oh, fuck this, in like the last or second to last episode.
Yeah, well, at the graduation, he's sitting there crying and everything. Toki, or whatever his name is,
Toby.
Is like, Toby, yeah, he's patting him on the back. It's like, dude, do you have hay fever, or is it the pollen? Is it the allergies, man?
It's 50-50 him trying to help him save face
or
him just being oblivious. That oblivious. Yeah,
yeah, it's a 50-50 shot. But like, it's like, man, this really crystallizes just how much he has changed. But the funny thing is,
he basically cares about school.
I wouldn't say that he realizes that he's wrong about everybody's relationship, because he is right. Not everybody, but a lot of people are maintaining absolutely fake relationships. Hayama Hayato is one of the ones that kind of like comes to him and basically says, based on, he says, I think this is more in season 2 than
I know the scene you're talking about. It's in the diner or cafe bar thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like when, and he says, he's like, I'm kind of jealous of you because you actually have this possibility to have actual real relationships. My circumstances do not allow me or afford me to have that. And one of the things that we were positing last week, I don't know if I mentioned this to you.
You didn't.
Outside of I think Ramble and I think Plot agrees, and I think Bio might have agreed too. Hayama Hayato is probably engaged to Yukino's sister. It just, there's little hints throughout the entire show that this was a decision made by their parents, and that because they're expected to be seen together, etc. And it feels like Haruno, and there is like kind of like the Haruno and Hayato
conversation where Haruno there's one conversation where the two are sitting there, and he says like, why do you despise me so much? And she says, and you can't really believe whether she means it or not, she laughs it off and says, what are you talking about? I adore you. And it's just that exchange right there says something about their relationship, that there's something more going on here than they simply know each other.
Trapdoor fucking spider.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. It's not something that concerns me, but before I forget, so, Full, you said that Hatchman doesn't, like, actively think, like, he's right? This is what I've said for years about Hatchman. Hachiman is a person whose arc revolves, and positioning revolves around the idea that he's sort of right, but that's not the point.
No, I agree.
Like,
well, I agree with you. I would just phrase it differently.
Yeah. Yeah,
I would phrase it as I would phrase it in that he realizes, in some level, you cannot control the world around you. You can have a minor impact on it, and he does have an impact on the people around him. But he realizes that, but the impact is that he will have is determined by his choices that he makes, and that will make the difference. That the decisions that he makes and the way he approaches these problems and himself is what makes a huge difference.
Well, a lot of that even starts off in the first season, because one of his big things is why bother changing for the world, because the world will force you to compromise, but will never compromise itself.
Thing is,
and then Save Yukino in that first season, he says, screw it, I'm going to force the world to change. And that's why he is willing to confront the way he does and address the truth, but he still throws himself on the bus.
It's not until after the scene in Kyoto where he quote unquote confesses to Ebina and he gets the reaction. Everybody's like, I hate how you do this stuff to yourself. I hate how you basically will embarrass yourself and make yourself look like a fool to, one, solve a problem, and to help everybody else save face. And because it shows that he doesn't value himself to them. And they,
it's not even just that. It shows that he's not thinking of others, because I think part of what happens there is both Yui and Yukino are both now aware they have feelings for him, because in that scene,
right, like you have this pan shot of them at the end and they just look so sad. Like they look
they're crushed by the fact that he did this to himself.
Yeah, it's not just that. It's like everyone for a minute believes he's actually confessing to Ebina. She's the first one to realize what's really going on.
Yeah, for me that's the big turning point, by the way.
That is the big turning point.
That is the big turning point.
That's what I said in the very beginning. That's like the moment of it clicks. That's where he's confronted by the idea that he cannot do shit as he's done it up until that point in time. Because that's when just, especially the people who are close to him, get hurt. And that hurts him, and that starts that's really the catalyst.
But what's funny is what really does it though is even Kamachi's upset with him.
Yeah, when she hears
because that's the thing. Like he finally talks to her honestly about it after a while, but at first, because he's trying to go into denial. Like that's part of his arc after that. Is trying to deny it, but then accepting, okay, I can't keep doing this. I did hurt other people.
Actually, thank you for saying that, because that builds excellently on what I wanted to say. So, relating to what we were saying earlier on worldview, being right, blah, 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 I'm just gonna crib a line from Rick and Morty season 3, I think it was the Pickle Rick episode, because I think that episode had one line that perfectly encapsulated this entire position. That of where the psychiatrist says to Rick, in the form of a pickle, you use intelligence to justify sickness. And that's Hachiman. And he uses the fact that he's so big brain, realize, I know the true nature of this world, it's all fake. But where he goes wrong is, well, by the way, firstly, that's not even necessarily true in all cases, at least taken to such an absurdly pedantic degree. And secondly, the fact that leads him to this, therefore, nothing has any meaning, life is pointless, and therefore, I'm just going to languish, being miserable for all time. Blah. He's essentially just, using his own experiences and his perception of things to justify not trying in life and being miserable and making that out to be some kind of noble thing when it's really not.
Yes. No, you're right. Because, and again, me and Ramble were just talking about this, how he talks about a man's pride and how this is my pride. And oh my God, you're absolutely right, dude.
Well, that's the thing.
Listen, fool. Real men chew rocks or watching paint dry on growing grass. Any deviation is effeminate bullshit.
Like, again, that's what I said earlier. It's like, you get it. It's like, Hatchman, you get it, but you don't get it. He realizes all of these things, but he doesn't realize that where that gets him is completely pointless. It's useless. It's toxic. It's self-destructive. There's literally no point other than to justify himself being as conservative and insular as he can possibly be in his approach to life.
That's part of the whole point, though, and that's where that part of season 2, because again, it's like, why did the teacher throw him into the service club? Because he was going to go nowhere. Like, he built this protective shell in order to prevent himself from being hurt. The problem is, by the time he tried to... Yes, but he did not think so, because what he was feeling was better than the pain he'd suffered.
Well, as Hatchman said... As he said, a problem's not a problem if it's not seen as a problem. He does not perceive his own pain. Like the shitty position he's in. Again, he does not see it as a problem.
As long as he's not suffering the pain of active rejection, as long as he's removing the choice of rejection from everyone else to him just choosing to be an outcast, that protects him psychologically, or so he believes. It's like Ebina, right? Ebina chooses this... She clearly doesn't like herself, but she chooses it anyway because it gives the illusion of happiness. And that conversation is very important because he does grow that he realizes what he's losing. And that's the thing, like, he needs to know the pain of his choices. And that is where it's important for him to make that change. And that's part of where I say Komachi is important in that, because if he just loses his connections with Yui Yukino, he can make an argument as to why. If he loses his connection with Komachi under these circumstances, that's going to actively hurt him because that's one of his only positive relationships, period.
It's kind of funny, though, that what put him in that situation is what got him out of it, which is taking power in his own line.
Yes,
broadly speaking. Obviously, he did not have power in his life when he was put in the service club. By the way, I was once dicking around with a mutual friend of mine and Bios, and we were like, hey, you know, it'd be really based, or at least, like, in many other things, I'd call it bullshit, but I'd be maybe fine with it in Oregairu if there's just, like, a thing called, like, Shin Oregairu, where we cut to, like, 10 years in the future, and then Hatchman becomes a teacher, and he becomes the new advisor for the service club.
That'd actually be pretty cool. I'd like to see that.
It's kind of stupid, but it's kind of stupidly on the nose, but...
I'd rather they do something like Full Metal Panic Fumofu, where it's just
spoil, please.
Komachi and Iroha's... What?
No spoil, please. Haven't seen Fumofu yet.
It doesn't really have a storyline. It's just a lot of fun. Like, it's fun shenanigans. I never really finished... Actually, I saw Fumofu before I saw Full Metal Panic, and I much more preferred Fumofu because it's just episodic, fun adventure.
By the way, I'm kind of joking.
Oh, I know, I figure, but I'm just saying, like, I actually would like to see them do something like that, where it's just this fun little offshoot spin-off that doesn't really have a storyline. It's just the adventures of Komachi and Iroha.
I partially agree, except for one thing. What I was going to say is, I was sort of joking. I mean, that would be very cool if, like, he became the next advisor. It would unironically fit, but what I actually want is just, for the love of God, would it kill you to give us, like, 2-3 episodes of an OVA of just, like, Hachiman and Yukinoshita doing things? It's not fair. We only got one episode, and it was such a good episode.
Are you talking about the what is it, like an OVA where he has dinner with Yukino's mom?
Well, no. That does happen in the light novel. It does happen in the light novel, but it doesn't. What I'm asking for doesn't exist in the light novel. What I want is just like 2-3 episodes of those two just being a couple. They have amazing chemistry. It's different, but it's the same when they're a couple. It's great. More, please.
You get a little bit of that with them adjusting to what it means to be a couple.
Yes,
when they're
exactly.
taking a selfie with a bubble tea and everything.
Oh, that was hilarious. I love that. But that's my point.
It's very cute.
Just, we get a little bit. That's my point. We get just a little bit. I want a little more than a little bit. Like, please, God, just let me see more of these characters.
The problem with that is, I think that would be a very different show, perhaps.
Well, he's just saying like in 2 or 3 episodes. Yeah, OVA.
Okay, yeah, an OVA. Okay, yeah. I mean, actually, what we were talking about is like me and Rambo.
Panic Fumofu equivalent.
Yeah, kind of like how they did Full Metal Panic Fumofu.
The thing is, and that is the thing, though. I don't want like a full series sequel because where do you go from here? Like, this story did say just about everything it needed to say. So anything else needs to be a lighthearted, fun, just a little gift, but nothing that's like a full series to try and stretch out something that doesn't need to be done.
Well, 2 things I would very much like is either seeing more of Hachiman and Yukinoshita dating and just going around doing things, maybe dealing with small situations together. Because Because it's interesting, because when they're a couple, they're a lot more straightforward with each other. The way they fundamentally act is very the same, but it's also a little bit different because of these slight alterations. Again, like that scene where Yukino, they're gonna take the photo, and he gives her the bubble tea, and then instead of taking a photo of the bubble tea, she yanks him by the arm and goes for a selfie. And then he's like, "Oh, I look like crap in this." And it's like, "Want to take another one?"
Right again,
and he's like, "Yeah." Crap, It's like, "Oh my god, I look worse." Like, it's so good. It's so good. Oh, or that bit where he's like, "Hey," and she's like, "Hey, how about that?" And he's like, I think you're skipping a few steps."
Yes. When they look at people marrying, yeah.
Like
the only other, I would make one other possibility, depending on how
Hatchman is an adult with a working life.
No. Well, that's the thing. Like, step away from Hachiman. Like, in between watching the season, I rewatched High Score Girl because it turns out the author is making a follow-up manga to High Score Girl called High Score Girl Dash. And it's about the other girl. How many years later? Like, she's turning 28. And she is a teacher, oddly enough.
That'll be 10 years later, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little over, it's like 12 years later. It's a little bit more than 10 years from when High Score Girl took place. But it's a very different story because it's a very different character. And it's not addressing. And so when I'm sitting there saying, like, if you're going to do another series, you don't have much to work with unless you do focus it on different characters and the arc. Like, what you're trying to say with this character is very different.
Okay, 5 years later, Komachi OVA, and Hatchman and Yukinoshita cameo.
Yeah, I'd buy that.
I could
That'll be Komachi in University, though, right?
Yeah, and maybe, like, Hatchman just steps in and gives some advice, and for a goddamn change, Yukinoshita and Hachiman, like, when this happens, those two exactly same page, no friction even.
That won't happen. They'd still have their banter.
The funny thing about them as a couple is...
That's why I said playfulness, but not friction. Like, no genuine friction.
They do have that once they get their banter going. But I know what you mean.
It's playful friction. What I would like to see is like, I definitely would like to see the Komachi show, but the thing is with Komachi is Komachi has Hachiman's ability to cut through the bullshit, to see what people like really like, get deep, psychoanalyze people and see what motivates them, and just like, she has that ability.
Oh yeah, we see this when she fucks with the hero.
That is a
great moment.
She's like,
that's the thing. It's like,
she's like, I always thought like any girl who was going to be with my brother would have to do this or that, but I realized that all he needs is just a woman as trashy as he is, and she's looking like. And here I was like, wait, what? Oh man, nailed her. I was like, damn, you need some cold water for that burn.
Honestly, if you were to do a follow-up series and would have a character that's got room to grow, Iroha might actually be a good choice of protagonist, and you'd still get Komachi as her, underclassman that's there to, I guess, help her out. But so you'd still get your healthy dose of Komachi, but it's not about Komachi because Komachi doesn't have as much room to grow as a character. Like, she's pretty darn set. She'd be fun to see interact with.
Wait a second, you don't need character growth, though. I feel.
Well, if that's the case, then you got
an interesting character that doesn't
get
grow.
this Fumofu side story where it's just a bunch of.
We're getting off fucking topic. Can we please get back on topic?
Okay, get back on. Yeah, but the
well, don't make me take a plane to fucking New Jersey to try and tard wrangle you guys. All right, tard wrangle.
All right. We're getting off topic a little too much. We were saying the dynamics. So I find it really, really interesting that them getting together, and then you get like Hachiman and Yukino getting together, and neither of them at first can say how they have to talk around it the whole time, which is it is very Japanese to be like that.
Oh, it's more than that. It's a mood.
That's the thing. Like, Hachiman himself says, it's like we overcomplicate things.
Yes, he says that.
Yeah. Towards the end, it gets increasingly more funny for the last few episodes, where Hachiman is at that point for the last few episodes. He's like Keanu Reeves, Matrix, Neo style dodging the
everything.
It's like more and more characters in the season are like, come on, bro, why are you really doing this? Yeah. And he comes up with increasingly more convoluted reasons.
Well, one of the funny
just piles them up on each other.
One of the funny things he says though is by the end though, that's when Yui is asking him like what's going on, and he starts saying the bullshit about taking responsibility, and he smacks himself and he says, No, not again. No, I'm not gonna try to look cool or whatever. and then he kind of levels with Yui.
He doesn't,
which breaks her
well,
heart.
that's the thing.
Which breaks her heart.
He doesn't directly, because I was going to bring up that same scene. He doesn't directly reject her, but he effectively says, like what he says tells her everything. He basically says,
"Stop waiting.
I don't want to I can't stop associating," is what he said. And she tries to be like, "Oh, you'll still see her and this and that." And he's like, "No, that's not good enough." And that's the thing. That's where she has her heartbreak, her final heartbreak, because she knows from the episode that he stops and he says, "I gotta go save save the prom." That's her first rejection. And it continues after that. And that's the thing. Yui is surprisingly strong. This is the thing that I've realized about Yui. And it fits with, again, their very first episode when she goes to them. And Yukino is harsh with her criticism, and yet it's not cutting. And Yui just looks at these two and is like, you guys are so cool because you speak what you feel. You speak what you think, and it's not bullcrap. And that's the funny thing, because their greatest difficulty is speaking what they feel. But Yui is the one that's willing to be hurt. From the very first episode, Yui is willing to be hurt if it's the right kind. And so Yui, despite having faced rejection that first time when he goes to save you, she technically doesn't give up. But she also doesn't give up when she knows she's been rejected. She still wants to be friends with Yukino. She still wants to hang out with the both of them.
Yeah, because what I think is really interesting, right, is that before, like, the romance shit kicks in, like, there's this weird kind of, and I mentioned this in the first cast we did, there's this kind of weird, like, triangle, like, the symbiosis between them. Like, they need each other. Like, you can't, like, the three of them are meant to be together. Not in a romantic way.
Bio, are you saying that they're
codependent?
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's what they're told, but I think that's the thing is you have two vulnerable people that are afraid of being vulnerable. So a word like codependent, especially for Yukino, is going to cut deep and hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, Haruno's just being a fucking bitch.
Well, no, Haruno can't. The thing is, Haruno is jealous because Haruno, like,
I don't know if it's even jealous.
Well, I assume her fiance.
She's a tough one to crack. That's the thing. The last
Ramblepak, she's a trapdoor fucking spider. End of story.
She's the devil to Hiratsuka.
Okay, yeah, that's what
that's one of the things you were saying. Yeah, you were saying that.
She's like, so yeah, it's like the teacher is the good angel. She's the devil on the shoulder of Hachiman, and that's not exactly a great comparison, but like that last conversation that she has outside of the school at night after the prom is over. No. I'm saying Haruno. The prom's over. Like she even said, like, because a lot of what she does is like she'll say things just to spur her sister on or to hurt her. Like she'll, like, because she said, like, she tells her sister, I was groomed for this job for 20 years. I'm not going to just give it up that easy. Then when she's just alone with Hachiman, she's like, I don't care about it. I don't care who has our dads. But what she tells him is like, is this genuine? Is this sincere? And like he even like stands there. She tells him how fake he's been. He's like, don't tell me this. All this stuff about a man's pride. All this stuff about taking responsibility. Like she's basically forcing him to face the fact that he's been doing what Hayama does. He's been fake. He's been trying to create a neat little bow, and it's not.
It's almost like life is hard.
Yes.
And sometimes when there are things at stake, and you actually have stake, you have things to lose, but you are forced into bad situations where you have to do ideal shit that doesn't necessarily help you.
But that's the thing. Haruno, in that moment, it's the only time in the series she gives an expression that shows actual sadness. And I think there's a part of her that wants to see them, because she knows how smart he is. She knows he can cut through the bullcrap. What she wants to know is, can there be something genuine? And she is skeptical enough. That's why she looks at something like codependence. She doesn't know what genuine is. She doesn't know how to be vulnerable. All she knows, she even says herself, all she knows is lies. So she's not a devil, but she is the devil again on Hachiman's shoulders, telling him this to get him, okay, face reality, this is what's really going on. But that's where his teacher comes in and breaks it down and says, this is how you can go forward. Just like, they had the one day on the bridge, and there she takes him to the batting cages, and she simplifies it. It's like all these feelings, boom, love, or ski, which isn't quite love. But she simplifies it.
Ski. Thing is, that's the really funny thing. That's a really funny thing. I love how you get to the same bit in an average, well-done romance, where for the last 6 episodes, It's just you wanting to be like, just say you love her, you stupid bitch.
Well,
But
the
that's the
funny
thing,
thing
though.
You
is,
do be like that.
Well, that's the funny thing too, because he still can't say that. He's got to find his roundabout way. He's like, one word doesn't sum it up. I want to distort our lives together. What the heck does that mean? So he's got to then explain it. But
Honestly, I feel that's a pretty romantic way of putting it.
well,
No, it ends up being a romantic way, and she gets it. That's what's important, is she gets it. She understands
the
it.
funny thing is, and this is actually something I've gotten from conversations I've had with Japanese people. I've actually talked to them. I've had Japanese friends, and I've asked them about this sort of thing. And the idea is to say something like the phrase "aishiteru," like that's the capital one. People will say "ski" or "daisuki" and stuff, but "aishiteru" is like capital. That's like holy shit. Like that's what you say on your wedding or
Please tell me
on your deathbed. Yeah, right. It's like there's only 2 times you can say that. Like, and the thing is, like, because
wait, sorry to cut you off, but are you by any chance going to get into the "will you make me miso soup every day"
no,
thing?
I'm not going to get that far.
Oh, that's unfortunate because I like that one.
What, the
I
phrase?
think I like
the phrase.
Well, I like the phrase and the meaning. I like what it expresses.
The idea,
Yeah, but
Really,
with that said, though,
domesticity? Like, man, dude.
Oh,
why don't
come
you just
on.
ask her to,
No,
like,
come on.
chain herself
Come
up
on.
and just be your domestic servant.
Hey,
shut
you know,
the fuck up.
you
know
could
that's not how I
say, "Can I make you miso soup every day?"
I
There you go.
There you go, buddy.
Honestly,
Why don't you?
honestly,
No, man, come
Hey,
on, like the
okay,
equality,
okay.
buddy.
I
I had to throw this at you.
now.
I had to throw
I'm
it
a-
at you, dude. I just had to.
no.
You opened the door.
Oh
for me,
no,
man.
no,
Yeah,
no.
okay. Look, I'm a go now because it's like way past when I was intending to go to bed. But I will synopsisize with Yahari Hachiman is literally my favorite anime character of all time. Oregairu, 8 out of 10 series, one of the best romance anime ever, and as an alternative, I like that phrase because if somebody came to me like somebody I really like came to me like, "Yo, can I make you coffee every day?" I would be head over heels like that.
All right, so
Funny,
you
the
hear
first
that? You
question
hear
I
that,
was
ladies?
Like, damn, how much you charging?
Yeah.
Like,
So
that's-
you hear that, ladies? You hear that, ladies? If you want to grab yourself member of the podcast, just making coffee every day. See you later,
There you
Lonecrit.
go.
Have a good night.
Point is though, that's my thing. It's a thing I do every day, and every single day, several times per day. And so the idea of somebody doing that for me sounds incredibly sweet.
Hey, baby,
Anyway,
will you work my Keurig every day? All day? It's just a Keurig. You just need to fill it with water and put a thing in it. There you go.
How
It's
cool
just-
is that?
Well, I
Slap
drink
right
so
to the face.
I drink so much coffee, it's retarded. It's like...
It's just one of these little things. Anyway, though, yeah.
All right,
Take it easy.
see you later, Lonecrit.
Yeah,
Thanks
have a
for
good
joining
night.
us.
Thanks for
Have a good
being on.
night. Have a good
Hey,
sleep.
man, take it
Yup.
easy, Lonecrit. Bye-bye.
I'll try.
All right, good night. Night. Okay, so continuing with the codependent shit and how so, an interesting thing about Yukino's sister is that, like, she sees the fact that, her sister has this genuine relationship while she's stuck with this fake one. And I think it's kind of, and I kind of feel that she deep down really wants Hachiman and Yukiko's relationship to succeed. Because if they succeed, she might actually be able to get free from fucking marrying, Hayato.
Oh, I don't...
Yeah, it's possible that marriage is just secure regardless.
No, I think that, honestly, the fact that they haven't even actually said it, that they're engaged, to me suggests that, I mean, it's so heavily implied. I mean, that's the thing, is it's so heavily implied, but they never say it. And when I say things like Yahari is the most Japanese anime I've ever seen, and I mean, like, it's the most culturally Japanese, because, like, having talked to so many Japanese people, it's just like, they really do talk around issues, just like they do in the show.
Oh,
And
fuck
they really
yes.
do avoid direct conflict,
Yeah.
just like they
Well-
do in the show. This is the most Japanese show I've
I mean, we
ever
get. I mean, even the server with him, that one Japanese guy. I'm not going to mention his name here, but it's like,
Yeah.
he does a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Lately he's been a bit more direct, especially with me. So it's like, I mean, and me and him know each other for like a year or two. So it's like, yeah, like even he does shit like that, and I don't think it's on
that's the thing
purpose.
is,
Part of that too is that
they got to
I
warm
wanted
up
to say, because like you were saying for the Aishiteru kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
There is one scene where you won't understand the actual source of humor or just how severe I don't want to say severe, but the extent to the humor and it was the episode where it's him and his sister having a day sort of together, where he finds Kawasaki Saki and her younger sister, and they're interacting, and, he's having his little tete-a-tete with Kamachi, and he ends up saying, Aishita. And he's saying it, like, casually, without meaning and everything like that, and she's like, oh, kiboy, like, gross. But in that moment, Kawasaki Saki has a flashback. Like, she sort of has a flashback to when he's looking to get to the roof of the school building, and as she tells him, then he runs away, and he's like, I should do, or something like that. Like, he says it to her. Like, in English, they just translate it as I love you. Yeah. But it's not like he said. Like, why does she get flustered? Because he just said something that is, like, special. Like, you don't just say that. No. Like, our translation doesn't really... We can't act, so... Yeah.
That means you have to localize it.
It's not even... That's one of the things where it's not even about localization or something.
I was making a joke.
I know, but it's like, we do not have the same idea behind the words we use. The idea, Daisuke, and Aishita.
It's like, these words are so important you can't say them, because if you do, you'll cheapen them if you say them too much. Like, it's like, I remember...
That's kind of what makes her... Well, I was just going to say, like, that's kind of what makes Saki, like, in that moment, like, oh, what an idiot. Because by hearing it between him and his sister, she realizes that it meant absolutely nothing for him to say it in that moment. And that's like yeah, what does that say then for her, kind of a thing?
Exactly. And they're like, well, I wouldn't say it meant absolutely nothing. It meant that, and it's kind of a shame Lonecrit ducked out, but it's like, what Hachiman has done, right, is he has compartmentalized all these women in his life as surrogate sisters, including Kawasaki, right? And
Roha even basically comments on that. Yeah, she's like, women don't like being treated as a sister.
Yeah, that's in season 2.
I think season 3, actually.
No, that's right before she confesses to, it's either right before or right after she confesses to,
No. I don't know. She has different conversations.
There. Yeah, it is. But I think it's around there. I think it's season 2 where she tells it. But you might be right. It might be season 3.
It might be season 3 because it's during sunset outside the school.
Mm-hmm. Like, no, I mean, that's the thing is like, but that's the thing is what he does. And it's just like, I mean, yeah, maybe in the light novel he gets like turned on by certain things that they might do, but that's like it's just like I said,
teenage boys.
Is he teenage boy?
Teenagers in general, because
but he's I mean, I don't know, but anyway, like he goes. But that's the thing is he kind of compartmentalizes all these women that are not Yukino and possibly Yui. Yui is kind of interestingly in a flux, because I imagine if he had compartmentalized her in the little sister category or just sibling category, it would have been more obvious, like it is with Iroha or Kawasaki.
Yui. Okay, it's Yui. I think Yui is special to Hachiman, but not in a romantic sense. And this is what I was talking about, like the triangle shit. Like, take away the romantic and sexual connotations, right? Like, the three of them are almost, like, supposed to be together. And even though Hachiman loves Yukino more, I think he holds a special place in his heart for Yui. Yui.
He holds a special place in his heart for Yui, even though she's not the woman he's in love with. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. The funny thing about all this is, it's like, there's this really hilarious video I saw, and it was this dude. It was a Muslim dude, and he was doing an Islamic life hack. And I was thinking back then, and I keep kind of like circling back to this, is like, because in Islam you're allowed to have up to 4 wives, you can't, these kind of problems cannot happen. You cannot make an anime love triangle that takes place in like Indonesia, which is a predominantly Muslim country, because like he could just marry both of them and it would be okay. And it's like, because this Islamic life hack was like, my wife was complaining that she couldn't hang out. The guy he's a Muslim, and he's like, my wife was complaining that she couldn't hang out with her best friend. So here's my second wife, her best friend. And and he's just like, this is an Islamic life hack brought to you by blah, blah, blah. My name, and he gave his name, and, it was kind of funny, but like...
I mean, that could be what the sequel's about. That's what the sequel's about, right? Like, they all 3 of them move to the Middle East somewhere. Like, he gets Indonesia,
convert to Islam and he marries both the Yukino and Yui. There you go.
And they have many, many children. Happy ending. Allah approves.
What did I sign up?
I don't know.
Tard wrangling.
But I mean, actually, I just think about this because Indonesia is predominantly Muslim. Indonesia really seems to be like huge in anime, as in a lot of Middle East.
Oh fuck yeah! Like there's a couple of friends of mine from the Middle East who I play Vampire the Masquerade with. Like they talked about the show called, I think it's like Warring States of the Galactic Heroes or some shit like that. So imagine
Legend of the Galactic
Heroes?
No.
It's different?
Yeah, it's different. So, you know the guy who made Outlanders? And, like, he's a hentai artist. He made, like, Ring X Mama, Outlanders, and some other shit. Yeah, he made, like, a Three Kingdoms Sengoku Jedi space manga anime with samurai and shit. The anime and manga is fucking crazy and shit. Like, it's battleships and sword duels and people collecting severed heads. There's, like, a lot of fucking going on in the background and politicking and all this cool, crazy shit. You should watch the anime.
I'm gonna have to look this up.
I'll show you the open. I'll show you the.
Yeah,
oh fuck you! You did it twice. You fucking yeah. You did it. Fuck you! You did it twice. And it's my show. Fuck you.
Ginga Sengoku Gun Yuden Rai.
Yeah.
Look up.
Look up Thunderjet. It's also known as Thunderjet as well. And by the way, funny thing about Thunderjet, it has an original Arabic opening.
Really?
Yes.
That's interesting.
It was that popular in the Middle East.
Man, it's got a 7.9 on my anime list. So yeah, okay, I might have to check this one out.
I will.
Civil War Chronicle, Thunderjet. Yeah,
I will tell you. The main protagonist in the manga, he's a bit more darker than in the anime.
Okay. Anyway, let's get back to Yahari.
Yeah.
And also the anime changes up the ending, like changes up a few things, but the core, like most of it, is pretty accurate to the manga. But anyway, let's get back to Yahari. We can talk about Thunderjet after this.
But I'm glad kind of we got some of this out of the way. Like, all right, immediately we're going to be going into spoilers because there's so much to talk about in these two seasons. It's like to really dig into what goes on. Yeah, and plus we do have to wrap this up shortly. I'm just gonna say the shit with Hayato, aside from the shit with Yukino's sister, I find him an interesting guy because he also has a thing for Yukino, but also he's also jealous and also hates Hatchman. Like he views him as a rival. I think that
they never really come out and say out.
Yeah, but it's very much implied. It's very much implied because what is Hayato? Like what is Hayato really? He's the Chad. He is the Chad of the school. Like, that's what he is.
Yeah, he's a big man on campus.
He's big man on campus. Right. He sees little Hatchman, and he's jealous, because guess what? Hatchman may not be Hatchman is not the Chad, but he definitely acts a bit like the Chad.
Well, it's because Hatchman can actually provide change. He can actually bring about change. Like, he can actually provide a solution. Like, at first, he hates the way that he goes about solving problems, because he goes about solving problems not just by sacrificing himself, but by bringing hurt.
Well, also,
he gives Megumi what she needs to hear, but it's cruel. It's the antithesis to Hayato's methods. But
remember, Rumi at the camp in season 1, basically Hayato and all of his friends and what's her name?
They want to believe that they can solve things kindly, or they want to believe at least that this scenario they can all be friends still.
And I remember, I'm not going to give any details because I would give which high school I could possibly give which high school I went to.
Just say Ghetto High School number 52.
Whoa! Just there was a really messed up scenario where a freshman committed suicide at my high school, and when I was like, there was a lot of reasons to it, and the popular kids had a couple popular kids.
This story.
So yeah, I'm not going to go into any details. I don't want to give anything away or anything like that. But what I will say is the next day at school was like one big after school special where everybody was just saying the dumbest bullshit humanly possible about, you could just talk to a friend or blah, 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 or, and everybody wanted to have their little say. And I just was literally sickened by it because everybody was just in nowhere land. Like they were in fantasy land. It's like, no, like what Rumi's situation is not going to be fixed by any of the bullshit they're going to try. And that's the thing is Hayato hates Hachiman because Hachiman was right in that situation.
Yeah, because I think the thing with Hayato, right, is that most of the stuff he tries, like, that does work most of the time. But it's
also, Hayato,
really?
When Hayato brings him on that date, he drags him on that date, and he sees how the girls treated him, and the one from his middle school and everything, and he sees how they treat him like absolute shit. And Hayato, he doesn't hate Hachiman.
It's the only time he actually does something similar to Hachiman. And he says like Hachiman even says, it's like, you, like, that must have been really hard for you. And Hayato hates that he did that. That he basically hurt these two girls. In the he hates that because he doesn't want to hurt anybody, and that's the thing. He's afraid of hurting people, and that's part of it. Is like emotions, right?
Yeah.
You're either afraid of being hurt or you're afraid of hurting. But by the end of the show, what's interesting about Hayato is it's like that scenario where everyone wants to know what he's doing. Everyone wants to know what he's doing, what he's going to major in, what his college is going to be. And by that point, Hachiman has learned to solve problems without hurting people, without throwing himself under the bus. And he presents Hayato with a solution, and Hayato hates it because it's a good solution. It's right. And that's the thing, where Hayato at that point knows he's lost, because whatever Hachiman was originally,
he isn't
Hachiman
anymore.
Has grown beyond that. Hachiman has grown, Hachiman is fixed, and Hachiman is doing what he himself can't do. And when you think about it, at the very end, Hachiman does save Yukino in multiple ways, and he saves her at the very end because Haruno's right. The whole prom thing did not work, did nothing. It convinced Yukino's mother of nothing. By pushing this dummy prom to be a real prom. This doomed project that's under budget, doesn't have manpower, doesn't have this and that. He's now giving Yukino a project that could fail. And if Yukino succeeds, which he's putting faith in her, and that I think is also very important, he's putting faith in her.
Yes.
To be able to see it through. He's saving her because he's now giving her a real opportunity to show her stuff to her.
But at the same time, and this is one of the things we talked about while watching it just now, a couple hours ago. Is he turns to her and he says, "Please save me."
Yeah.
It's genius. It's the most genius move the entire show. So, and that's the thing, is that last thing, she's like, her sister saying, "Oh, you're all codependent, blah, 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 blah." Her sister threw a big ass monkey wrench in the whole shebang. And, sorry.
It was somewhat necessary for them to acknowledge that they were not progressing, though.
They were in a holding pattern, yeah. But the thing is, at the same time, Yukino, it got in her head.
Yes.
Right? It got deep in her head and messed her up. Real bad, to the point where she, that's the thing, is by the end of the show, she kind of realizes, all that stuff that Hachiman was talking about the Hito kanji for Hito, where you have one person leaning on another, and it's like, well, and you pointed this out, Ramble, couple, again, while we were watching. Yeah, and you were like, one person leaning on another, but the thing is, under circumstances, that switches.
Who's leaning on who changes, yeah.
Yeah, who's leaning on whom, and that's a good relationship, where, it's like, well, in this circumstance, I need your help. And it's like, yeah, bro, yeah, man, I'll help you out, I'll be there for you. And then in the next one, it's not even like you're keeping score, you just do that. You do that for the other person. And, because you care about them to the point of, well, selflessness. And, that's the thing that she doesn't understand is and she kind of learns it, I think, by the end of the show. But that idea that we're all dependent on people around us. If we stick to, it was like Lonecrit was saying, Hachiman he's solo, he's by himself, he's not, he's pushing the world away, he's afraid of getting hurt, and so doing that, he builds this little fortress around himself, and he's just going to be in this stagnant worldview for the rest of his life, and just bitter and not going anywhere. And the thing is yeah, you can survive and subsist on that, maybe, but if you want to get anywhere, and if you want to have anything meaningful in life, you need to be willing to risk getting hurt. And that means being vulnerable and needing other people. And go ahead.
I'm just going to say, one of the things, and this is one of the reasons I wish we did get more of his family, because it helps to see Yui's mother, where you look at Yukino's sister and then the mother, one of the ingenious things about the mom is she is so good at playing the game. I might need to look through my notes and see specifically what I said, because that first meeting he has with her, she never makes it about her. She always has some other group to lean on.
A third party.
And even if, and that's the thing, the only way to counterattack her is to put doubt into her word. And that is, easier done in America than in Japan, let's say, especially if someone of her standing, someone with the respect she received. And that's the thing, even towards the end when she, is told about Yukino's ambitions, she says, I will support you. This is what you want. But you have time. Think about it. Don't rush. It's almost like she's saying, don't do this.
Yeah, you used the term in our conversation together. You said the exact word double speak.
Yes,
everything her mom says is double speak.
You gotta read between the lines.
You gotta read between the lines, yeah. Because she basically said, fuck all.
And that's
really
the thing. You then look at Yui's mom, and Yui's mom is very happy, very inviting, clearly is excited about her little girl's, first real crush.
Yeah.
She
I remember the scene where
ready to dote on the guy.
Yeah, I remember
she's ready to dote on Hachiman.
Yeah, because I remember the scene where when Hachiman goes to her house, he's like, oh, so this is Hachi, and she's like really excited, and Yuri's old embarrassed, like, oh no, mom, it's just like,
she said so much about you. You don't have to tell him that. You don't have to tell him that. Yeah. So it's
when they talk about the secret ingredient, I'm just like, Jesus Christ, because they did that scene. I'm 43 years old, and I'm sitting there like, if they can't say it, it's got to be no, it can't be
love.
That. No, it can't be that.
It's just love.
Oh, it was just love. Or no, wait, it was devotion. I think it was what it was.
Well, he said devotion. Because again, he can't say love.
Yeah.
So he finds another word to say.
Well, he can't say it when he means it. He could say it to Komachi, and he could say it to what's her name? The blue-haired chick. Kawasaki. Yeah, there you go. He could say it to her, the motorcycle chick, and I think of her as the motorcycle chick because her name is
Kawasaki Ninja and stuff like that.
It's like he can say it to them, but he can't say it to Yukino when he, Actually, that's the funny thing is she's the one who says I think Daisuke. They don't say ice to her, but she says ski first.
Yeah,
okay. She doesn't say Daisuke, but she says ski first. Okay, I kind of agree with Lonecrit. Now, I'd like to see more of this. Or
he's got to be the one to say it next.
Yeah, okay, fuck it, give us a season 4. I could do with that. I could do with a season 4.
Because the great thing with their relationship, right, is they have these little word games, and they communicate using their eyes as well. That's a thing you can't notice as well.
That's how you can also tell when she's growing distant.
Yeah.
Is when she stops with the word games. They stop with their little tete and everything. Well, I don't want to say word games, but it is a back and forth. It is a sort of verbal joust. You can tell when things aren't going well between them when that stops, and then when things are going good again is when that resumes. So it's a very good show that it's got those little things going for it, where you're able to pick up on the idiosyncrasies of the characters even in their relationship. Blonde girl starts to really care about Yui. She goes from treating Yui like garbage and taking her for granted to once Yui learns to stand up for herself, and she does more and more.
Yumiko.
There are times
Miura Yumiko.
Yeah. There's the moment where, again, going back to where everyone's trying to get Hayama's major, know what he's doing next. She's getting an attitude with Yukino, and Yui just, tells her, just shuts her down. It's like, that's enough of that. Just give us your problem. And that, I think, did a lot for, I don't know, she's a character. The only reason I want to know more about her as a character is because then why is she so kind to Eb? What's their background, kind of?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I wouldn't really care about her, but that little bit, because she was very protective of Ebina, but then she's very protective of you. She doesn't want Hachiman to go breaking her heart. But then, of course, you don't really see much of her at the very end. And Yui, she's going to be closer to Iroha and Komachi there. And I guess that's part of the thing that's interesting too, is just how some of these friendships evolve. And that was actually one of the things that's one of the things I want to know about the light novels is of Hayama's group, we get Toby, but then the other two guys are just non-entities. They don't.
I will tell you in the light novel. I will tell you from what I remember of the light novel because it's been a while. Is that they're just kind of there.
But that might be one of the first things, though, where Hachiman actually did help, though. where they suspected there was someone leaking information about the other guys to try and break up the friendship.
Turns out it was all three of them.
Yeah, well, I don't think they actually addressed whether it was all three. That was a theory that was proposed. But regardless, that was season 1, but that's the first time he actually helped people become friends, right? That was something where he did good, and that's where I think the show, if we're going to summarize thematics and stuff like that of the show, that's one of the things is the Hito Kanji, where it's about like real relationships are about leaning on other people. You can't be afraid of hurting or being hurt. And yeah, to go back, like Haruno, why can't she be honest with other people? Because it's imperative not to be vulnerable. It's bad for business to be vulnerable. You have to be playing the game just like her mother is always playing.
Oh yeah, dude, her mother is like a freaking steel curtain. Like,
her
absolutely.
Her mother's
you will
never
find out who she is in real life. And that's the funny thing is, like, again, like, given everything I've seen of her mother, I guarantee her mother was an arranged marriage.
No doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, she does not have any love for her husband. It's an arranged marriage. It's all business. And, like, because otherwise, how could you be such an Iron Maiden?
That's the assumption.
She's not a maiden, technically. I mean, she's had kids. But, like, you know, how could you be such a woman made of absolute just cold iron? And that's what she is. She's just cold iron, like, the entire time. Brutal. And that's the thing is...
Also, sorry, I'm just really thinking. What's also interesting is I feel like there are some elements of traditional Japanese values that are under criticism here. And yet what's really interesting is Hachiman, like, even in his final thing, like, in some ways it goes back to what Lonecrit said, well, you make me miso soup every day. What he tells Yukino is he wants to be responsible. You know, he wants to not just be leaned upon. Like for Yukino, he wants to be leaned upon. And that's what's interesting is he likes being dependent upon. As all the other, because that's the thing, like, yeah, he compartmentalizes a lot of girls as being sister-like, but he does enjoy helping others. And we know this because he's helped save a dog, but there's a part of him that does, like, and I would view that as like a sort of traditional masculine value thing, especially in Japanese society. The idea of being responsible and being leaned upon and being held accountable. But I think what is healthy is that he also does lean on her. They do, what's the word I'm looking for?
She doesn't realize, they compliment. She doesn't realize how much she has influenced him to desire to change and better himself. Yes. And that's the thing is, like, she doesn't realize she's helped him, you know, because that's the thing is she's so up her own ass with, you know, I gotta this, and, you know, my sister thinks that of me, and you know, she's so up her own ass that she can't see how she's saved
so afraid that she's not independent. She's so afraid that she's too vulnerable, that because she's not like her mother or something, or that she's not like, she feels the need to be independent. But again, what are her, like, what are her mother and her sister like? But at the same time, what do they even know? Right, like, because they don't know being vulnerable. They don't know something genuine.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, her sister and mother don't know about never experienced something genuine. They've never been vulnerable. They've always had to be the facade. But I mean, we're probably getting close.
We're going to repeat ourselves if we keep going.
I mean,
too far into the weeds,
we'd have to bust your notes out to start getting into really, really, really specific stuff. But we're starting to it's getting about time to wrap this up, I guess.
Yep.
So, Bio, you wanna?
All right. So, thank you all for you guys. Thank you all. We kind of had to cut it because detours, and also I've got like shit to do. So in a bit.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for joining. It was nice that Lonecrit could make it. Plot couldn't make it. I guess he's busy.
Yeah. Plots.
He was busy today. So thank you all for joining us, and see you all next time, I guess. Bye bye.
Right. Bye. Signing off. Bye bye.